Greetings, this is Brian Alexander coming to you with another vlog aimed at the future, and this time I'd like to combine that futurist perspective with a current event. And the current event here is the DOGE attack on the federal government in terms of what I call the DOGE government bet. So let me explain this and see what you think. Right now, the DOGE unit is rampaging through the federal government. They're mostly going after easy stuff. They're going after things that don't cost a lot in terms of the overall federal budget. They're going after stuff that also doesn't have major constituencies. So U.S. aid, for example, a lot of Americans have this grossly inflated sense of foreign aid being a terrible, huge thing, and it's not a huge thing. In many ways, it's very benevolent. They're going after Department of Education research units and university funding, which has very little support. They're going after the IRS, Americans love to hate. They're after NASA, and NASA never polls well. I think they're also trading on the generic American hatred of bureaucracies, where people don't want to experience paperwork and so on. It's part of America's culture of distrust and dissent, I think. There's harder stuff coming up. The truly costly branches of government, the ones that have major constituencies. And I think people are starting to realize this. So think about the Department of Defense, an enormous branch of the government, one that's very, very expensive, but also one that has lots and lots of support across the country. They're looking at Medicaid and Medicare, along with Social Security, each of which have a built-in constituency of recipients, as well as the family members who are part of that, as well as workers, as well as all of society which benefits from that. I suspect they will go after Medicaid first because it's politically the weakest of the lot, in that its major constituency are the poor, and the poor don't have much of a constituency in today's politics. But cutting at any of these have stymied previous presidents and Congresses, most recently Bush II and Obama trying for a grand bargain. And we're already seeing resistance. And the resistance comes out in town meetings, for example, where people speak about this is a generic series of cuts, not just focused on U.S. aid, but on the entire government and on what it provides for people. There are actually revolts in town halls where people are hollering at Republican Congress people, and they're doing this in very red counties and districts. We're seeing Trump's popularity falling steadily. Musk is not just unpopular, he has now emerged as a kind of supervillain, widely hated. I mean, as far as I can tell, Trump towers and Trump properties aren't being defaced or physically attacked. But I'm seeing photos of Cybertrucks being defaced. I'm seeing and hearing from friends who've gone to protests at Tesla dealerships. I mean, there's a lot of resistance to DOGE happening. There's an open question if the Democrats, the official opposition party, will jump on this train. It's also an open question if they have the skills to do so. But I think this points to a deeper problem. We're experiencing with this DOGE wilding a serious degradation of government capacity. When we're seeing staff get fired, or we're seeing them threatened with firing, or we're seeing them demoted, or we're seeing their budgets cut, or we're seeing attacks on their reputations in all kinds of ways. We're seeing a loss as a result of a lot of tacit knowledge, a lot of institutional memory, which is going to make it harder for these offices to continue doing their jobs. We're seeing fewer staff, which at a simple level just means fewer bodies to throw at services and problems. It seems likely to me that government operations are going to be hobbled for years to come, even if this just magically stopped tomorrow. And beyond this, there's a blow to research. The whole American research enterprise, both the governmental side, you think of the research being done by NOAA, for example, as well as the non-governmental side that's supported by the government, from the National Science Foundation, the National Institutes for Health, and so on. And that blow is going to be felt for years. I don't have time to talk about it today, but we're already seeing pauses to promising careers. We're seeing pauses to projects. In some cases, that means an end to those projects. So why is Trump doing this? What is behind all of this? I think we can see a kind of psychological, simple political reason, which is Trump is punishing people that he thinks hurt him, like the Department of Justices. He's also going after services that he just hates, like U.S. aid. And I think he's hitting people that he feels look down at him. Bureaucrats, for example, and the deep state, as he thinks of it. He also has a long-standing disdain of the military, and I think that's going to power forward when Musk and DOGE tag team the Pentagon. But I think there's something else going on. There's a libertarian kind of bet that the government will be better for society after this purge. The federal government will be smaller, it'll be more efficient, it'll be doing more and better with less. Ideas and services that Trump hates, like DEI and climate activism, they'll be gone. The cost to institutional memory doesn't matter for Trump because he thinks that's probably bad ways of doing stuff that's sometimes bad. The loss of research, I think for Trump and for Musk, they wouldn't mind to see some of it go. And I'm not sure they really value the rest. They probably think that most effective R&D is done in the private sector. I think that's the plan here, a bet on radical government reform, which, again, I don't think this is just cruelty. I don't think this is just sadism or destruction for its own sake. I think Trump really believes that this bet will pay off in terms of making America great again. This is also Musk's MO for his entire career. He goes into a business that he's purchased, he cuts all the staff who aren't diehards, then he works really hard the staff that remain, trying to push them very hard for results. I mean, he's done this in business after business. Applying it to the federal government is a very Musk thing to do. It's a very Republican thing to do. Remember, Republicans are the party of business, and it's also a kind of neoliberal thing to do, of applying more market logic to the public sector. Now, one part of this as a kind of sidebar, and this is one I'm not sure about, so bear with me for a minute. One effective part of all these cuts will be reducing America's ability to project power abroad. I mean, a shrunken CIA, a shrunken Pentagon especially, etc., is less able to support allies. It's less able to fight wars or to destroy enemies. This is actually pretty consistent with Trump's positions over the years, as well as with his first presidency. He prefers to strike deals, famously, right? The art of the deal. And to do so, along the way, he will happily talk epic amounts of smack. He will fire off threats that are spectacular in order to get to that deal. I mean, he'll also happily authorize a spectacular yet small kinetic act, like an assassination or a brief bombardment. But I don't think he really wants to put U.S. troops significantly down on the ground. He likes the spectacle of military might because it plays out well on TV, and he is above all a creature of television. But I don't think he really wants to use it at scale. Remember, he hated the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. He thinks soldiers are suckers and wimps. He disdains the military very, very deeply. I mean, he's no peacenik, obviously. He's very fond of violence in all kinds of other ways. But I don't think he's out for violent conquest. I could be wrong here. External events may well drag Trump into a war, which has often been the fate of American presidents. But I don't think he wants to push this much further. I think he really does want to cut the Pentagon. Back to the government as a whole. Any bet has its downside. That's how they work. So what happens if they lose this bet? I mean, losing the DOGE bet means a degraded federal government. It means wrecked careers for tens of thousands or more civil servants and other workers. It means lower capacity for the federal government to get things done. I mean, from securing safe airspace to protecting national parks, collecting taxes, maintaining nuclear weapons, paying Social Security correctly, and sending aircraft carriers around the world. I don't think, if this bet fails over the next few years, I don't think Musk and Trump will pick up the tab for it. That'll be us. We'll be on the hook. Let me know what you think in the comments.